on your side tonight talking about the economy. It's the subject of this week's Good Question podcast. Are we headed for a recession? Over the past few months, we've seen the Federal Reserve raise interest rates 3 times. The goal is to curb inflation by reducing consumer demand. But economists warn that trying to cut down on inflation could push us into a recession. Alex is back with us tonight. There's been talk of this recession obviously for a while now, and you spoke to an economics professor about this topic.
Somebody right here from UNC Charlotte wanted that local opinion, and he basically answered all my questions. I think a lot of people are wondering right now, are we in the recession now? Is the recession still to come? What do we need to be on the lookout for? So we talked at length about that, but one of the big questions I had from Jamie is about what you just mentioned, the fact that the Fed's trying to curb inflation, but we keep hearing in all the national stories, this could plunge us into a recession.
Right.
And I asked him about the balancing act when you're trying to deal with that sort of situation. Take a listen to what he said.
Long-term inflation can wreck an economy and create both high unemployment and high inflation. So we've got to curb this thing. I mean, the Fed, Jerome Powell, he was late to the party, but it seems like he's drunk the juice, so to speak. And he's on board now with, in fact, curbing inflation.
It's better in the long term to have the recession and curb inflation.
Right, than to go through the period of time we had the 70s, where for 10 years the Fed just chased inflation. Alex, it's kind of like herding cows. You know, if you chase after the cows just run after you, run away from you. You got to get out in front of the cows to turn the herd and make them go the other direction.
As Professor John
Way of putting it.
Yeah,
I understand that, though. I get it.
Yeah.
Right?
He's been studying economics for a long time. He made things very easy to understand, as you can tell there.
Yeah, absolutely. Your students benefit from that, I imagine. All right, so he thinks we're headed for a recession, it sounds like, right? So when is the question?
He was telling me probably summer months, 2023. He mentioned that, you know, when you see the Fed raising rates, that's not an immediate impact sort of thing. That's, you know, you see several months down the line, you see the repercussions of that. And he's thinking that's when the recession will officially take hold, would be the summer.
Unemployment is still low, hiring is still going on, so it seems like the economy's still moving at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did he say how bad a recession it might be? Because I think a lot of people are wondering, can we get to a soft landing? You hear people talking about that.
Right, and I asked him specifically about that and mentioned, you know, kind of embarrassed to say, in 2008, I was much younger. You know, I was in high school when that recession was happening. And that's what I told him. I remember that being a very dark time for the country, a lot of folks losing their jobs. Are we talking about something like that? He said, no, I do not foresee it being a recession like 2008. He mentioned 2001 and the recession that happened then and be more comparable to that.
We'll see what happens. Always great insight from Dr. Conant. Appreciate him talking to you. And, of course, people can check out this week's Good Question podcast. New episodes, of course, drop every Wednesday morning. Scan the QR code on your screen to listen. You can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those places. WBTV's Good Question is produced in partnership with the Queen City Podcast Network. Good conversation this week. Make sure you go and check it out. All right, we're on.